Hello, my name is Dayana Dreke. I work as a full-time program coordinator of the Western Cape Network for Community Peace and Development. I think, like looking at South Africa's history of colonialization and apartheid and what they call like the hangover is like this culture of violence, and so that violence became such a natural part. I mean, children are getting socialized in that, and it's for them the only response that they kind of grew up with. So whenever they're frustrated or angry with something, or like the way they resolve conflicts is actually through violence. And so for me that's always very sad to see, because that's a big block for the development of South African communities. So I see, I mean, obviously there's also this whole thing of this patriarchy, I don't know, like, you know, that this macho culture in South Africa. So that the way South African men from the different cultural backgrounds define themselves as men, that it has to be about being in charge, being in power over women and over children. And that's how they kind of have their pride, and to be the head of the household, and I think that's where also apartheid really damaged the many men, because they took away their dignity in that sense. Because even during the apartheid days you had kind of this enemy, and men would come together and they would join force to kind of protect their families. But then now, after the apartheid end, there is not enough work, and but then there's this women empowerment project. So I think there's quite a lot of tension then between men not being able to provide for their own families, and you know, then the lack of pride that comes with that, and then the frustration and aggression that comes with them, that they're not able to provide or be the men of the household. Yeah, so obviously you hear South Africa highest rates of rape, domestic abuse, so all these really dark numbers. And working in the communities, you hear the cases, like also just recently in Guguletu, where a young 10-year-old girl was raped and killed by her own uncles, and in a granny's house. And so it's very hectic then to hear all these stories. I think it's very important to have the awareness campaigns about, you know, gender equality and things like that. But it needs to be always a holistic approach. So it cannot just be awareness, but then there's not the economic and socio conditions that will be provided to actually change these conditions that actually cause the violence and the crime to happen. So if the cycle of poverty, crime and violence is not broken by actually providing people with education and with jobs, it's going to be very difficult to actually get out of that cycle. So it needs to be a whole package. So, and if the SDG is going to be addressing all these different needs on the different levels, and then I think it's a good route. And it's always good to have it, you know, like it's coming from the grassroots level, but also on local, national and then international level, that it's all kind of streamlined about what is it that we want to see to reach gender equality. Yes, and obviously seeing with peace and security, it should be a very fundamental SDG, because you can see that South Africa is not a country at war, but looking at the crime levels and the level of violence and the culture of violence that is here, and how it actually hindered South Africa from developing its full potential, it shows that it's so important to actually have that as a separate goal, to work on the peace infrastructures. And only if you have a peaceful community, you can also provide them for you know, developing young entrepreneurs. Because if you're in constant fear, you know, someone's gonna, that what you're building up, you know, it's going to be taken away again violently or in any other way, then, you know, it's not going to be sustainable.